Hello, and welcome to Faith and Federalism, where I take issues governmentally and analyze them theologically. Today, I have a few things that I want to talk about in today's news. There was just so much going on that I literally have to take half of the stuff that I wanted to talk about today and put it into the episode for Tuesday because things just keep happening and there's so much that I want to tell you guys. But I obviously love having it being a 2-day podcast instead of a 1 day a week podcast because like I said, there's just so much information that I feel like I would just be so behind on telling you guys what's going on. So let's just get started. I wanted to talk about the Hezbollah pagers that went off in Lebanon, Taylor Swift and Billie Eilish's support for Kamala Harris, the VP debate that's coming up on October 1st, rhetoric surrounding the Trump assassination, and I actually went to go see JD Vance today, which was so awesome. So I wanted to talk to you about him and what he said. So for the Hezbollah pagers, Israel is the one that's behind the attack. It killed multiple and injured thousands across Lebanon. So basically what happened were pagers that belonged to an Iran-backed militant group exploded almost simultaneously, and it exposed a massive security breach. It also demonstrates the scale of Israeli intelligence. Also, dozens of walkie-talkies exploded on Wednesday, leaving more than 100 injured, and it further escalates the tensions in the Middle East. The attacks were a joint effort of Israel's military and its intelligence service, but Israel is not commenting on the attack. So technically, we don't know who did it, but technically, we do know who did it. Iran is calling it Israeli terrorism, but like I said, Israel has not commented on the attacks. What's said and how it happened is that Israel possibly hid explosives in a batch of pagers from the Gold Apollo destined for Hezbollah, which is a Taiwanese company, and then a switch was embedded to detonate them remotely. But Hezbollah has said that the enemy will receive a fair punishment and its operations against Israel will continue. And the Prime Minister Makati said Tuesday's attack was a serious violation of Lebanese sovereignty and a crime by all standards. So we know that the war in Israel is going on between Hamas and Israel, Palestine and Israel. But there's also Iran, which hates Israel, and they have a group of terrorists called Hezbollah. And basically, because of what Hezbollah is doing to the Israelis, they decided to stage an attack against them. I don't agree with war, but if someone is attacking you, then you have the full right to defend yourself and to defend what's going on in your country. So I don't necessarily think that this attack was bad at all. I think that it was warranted, especially because Israel is not weak, but it's at risk right now and it's facing a lot of tension, emotion. It's facing a lot of hatred right now. And a lot of people, even in America, don't like Israel for some reason. But like I always say, you're supposed to bless Israel, and those who bless Israel in turn will be blessed because that's God's nation. That's God's chosen people. So Taylor Swift and Billie Eilish. So basically, Taylor Swift and Billie Eilish both came out in support of Kamala Harris over Trump. Swift endorsed Kamala Harris right after the debate, and that caused 337,000 people to register to vote. But the endorsement is causing less support for Harris. So Swift supports Kamala because she fights for a woman's right to choose, and Billie Eilish also supports Kamala because they're protecting reproductive rights. But YouGov reported that 8% of voters claimed that Taylor Swift's support, somewhat or much more likely sways them to vote for Harris, but 20% said they're somewhat or much less likely to vote for Trump now that Swift came out in support of Harris. So basically, she's not really causing anything to happen. She's actually getting less people to want to vote for Harris. Also, she has young voters. They both do. They both have young voters, and they're basically just young voters and young fans. So while their voters are young, their fans are also young. And they're basically reducing a woman to their body, and that's the reason why they should vote. Or they're reducing a woman to their body, and that's a reason why you should support a particular person. Because if you're just on the abortion concept on the left, it's just a woman's right to choose whether or not she can murder her baby up to 9 months and even after. But if you're supporting the abortion issue on the right, you're supporting women's health care, women's pregnancy centers. You're supporting things that are helping women, and it's not just reduced to their bodies. But if you're supporting it on the left, you're just basically saying you can do whatever you want with your body, like my body, my choice. And that's just reducing women down to their physical capacity and not anything else that's within them. So I don't necessarily agree with that. When it comes to celebrity endorsements, I don't care about them. I don't think many people even care. Like, there's some people who are major fans of both Billie Eilish and Taylor Swift, and their the way that they're going to go about voting is how this person is going to vote. But for me, that's not a deciding factor on who I'm going to vote for. I do my own research, which Taylor Swift allegedly said that you should do your own research, but I do my own research. I come up with what I believe are the platforms that I'm going to support, and then I vote. It doesn't mean that if my favorite celebrity said they were going to vote for Kamala Harris, I just wouldn't support that celebrity anymore. But also, if my favorite celebrity voted for Kamala Harris or Trump, that doesn't make me automatically want to vote for either person. These people are just people. And you also have to remember that they're billionaires and millionaires, and the way they vote really doesn't have as big of an effect on their life as it does our lives, because they have the money. Gas isn't expensive to them. They fly around the world all the time in their expensive jets and everything. So it's not as important to them how the economy is, because they're always able to afford everything. For us, I'm a middle class, probably lower class at this point, but middle to lower class person. And a lot of us are the middle class, whether it be middle, lower, middle upper. And so how we vote really, our lives depend on how we vote. And we don't have a vote to just throw away because we want to be cute and vote for a women's right to murder her own kid. I mean, there's just so many other reasons why we should be voting. And number one, we should be voting for life, because without the right to life, we don't have any rights at all. But I digress. But I just think that you should be wary of a celebrity and their vote, because that doesn't mean that that's how you should vote. I know Beyonce was at Hillary Clinton's rally for election day or whatever, and that was supposed to get a bunch of people out to vote, and look what happened. Trump won. So I mean, just because a celebrity votes a certain way doesn't mean anything, and that really you really shouldn't be depending on their vote for how you're going to vote. So the vice presidential debate. CBS is set to host a vice presidential debate on October 1st. According to the FEC, it has a lot of Democratic donors. The parent company Paramount has also made several donations to the Biden and Harris campaigns, along with several other Democrats. And between Paramount and CBS, only one executive has donated to the Republicans. But neither debate moderator has made any donation to either party. We have to remember that Walden is a top Disney executive and that Disney is the head of ABC. Walden is also friends with Harris, and that's the platform that they had their debate on. So knowing that Paramount and CBS have people that donate to the Democratic Party shows more favoritism. I wish that there would be a platform, either a more neutral platform, or they would just go on a platform like it's the Republicans' turn now. Like, why can't Tim Walz and JD Vance go on to Fox and have their debate? So I just wish, because I feel like there's going to be more fact checking, and there's going to be just more bias, and like it's going to be just how the presidential debate is how this vice presidential debate is going to be. So I can only imagine how that's going to turn out. The Trump assassination. So we all know that on Sunday, Trump was faced with a second assassination attempt. I'm not going to say the name of the person, but scoped out the area at least 12 hours before, and he was pointing a muzzle of an AK-47 through the bushes. The Secret Service caught him, shot at him, and then he ran away. The suspect was caught because somebody saw him running away, caught his license plate, and gave it to law enforcement. Law enforcement was then able to connect with other law enforcement in the area to find him and take him down. He had left his rifle behind, and he left ceramic tile and a GoPro, so it was thought that he was going to film it. If you didn't hear my last episode, I'm just trying to fill you in on what happened because it wasn't too long ago that this happened. It was on Sunday, and today is Wednesday. So instead of just coming together, there were some Democrats that said there's no violence that belongs in politics, and some people have come out. Chris Cuomo actually came out and apologized to Donald Trump, called him and apologized to him for what's happening, because he said that it's not right, that this is not what politics is about. So yeah, I actually respect that. I'm not a Chris Cuomo fan. I'm not a fan of either of the Cuomo brothers, but I do respect the fact that he came out and actually apologized, because this isn't about politics at this point. This is about people's lives. But the media has come out and basically said that Trump's own rhetoric is causing him to get shot or almost shot. But let's just note that Trump has had more assassination attempts than Harris has had interviews. And that's true. She's had 2 technically sit down interviews, but 1 solo sit down interview. And Trump has had 2 assassination attempts. So who do we want for president? The one that's hiding from the media, or the one that gets up every day and does his regular routine despite being shot at or attempted to be shot at? 2 reporters said that Trump should urge his supporters to take the temperature down, and Hakeem Jeffries said that Trump is to blame for the ongoing nature of violence directed toward him. I don't know what kind of world we live in where we're blaming people for almost getting shot at. When do we blame the victim? It's the same rhetoric as if you blame someone for wearing too short of a skirt and they get raped. You don't do that. It's not appropriate. Just because he's Donald Trump and you don't like him, that doesn't mean you have to say certain things about him getting shot, that it's his fault. It's nobody's fault for getting shot or having people want to assassinate him. It's actually it is the media's fault, because they say things like, we must be stopped, MAGA people must be stopped. I actually have a list of things here that Democrats have said that basically prove that they're putting Trump in the bullseye. Remember when Joe Biden said that, to keep Donald Trump in the bullseye? Well, I actually have some quotes that they have said. They said that Donald Trump must be stopped, that we must stop the rhetoric, that MAGA Americans must be stopped. There's lots of quotes that they've said that, one would think that we're saying that we're white supremacist, all sorts of things. So one would think that the more, comparing Trump to Hitler, so one would think that the more someone says this, that you would be mad too. If you were deranged, you would want to take this person down too, who's causing a threat to democracy, who needs to be taken down, who needs to be taken out. Like, you would think those same exact things. But apparently the media doesn't understand what it's doing to Trump and doing to its supporters by having this rhetoric. If you continuously blame someone for being a threat to democracy, that's serious. And people who are seriously deranged will try to take that person out because they want democracy, right? So if you say that, the more you say that, and the more that you say that we must be stopped, well, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to try to stop us, and they're going to try to stop the main person that's at the head of the party, which is Trump. So if they want these assassination attacks to stop, and they want to stop having to say thoughts and prayers, and they want to stop commenting on it, then instead of blaming Donald Trump, maybe they should blame themselves. But they never will, because that's how the media is. And they are not, like JD Vance said today, will never be on the side of the media. The media will never be on our side, and they won't. They will never be on our side because they don't want the truth to come out. And like I said, there's Project Mockingbird, and Project Mockingbird is a group of people and corporations that basically own other media corporations, and they tell you what to say, and it trickles down so that every time everybody says something, they're all saying the exact same thing. If you flip between the channels, even Fox News sometimes, even though it's to the right of Project Mockingbird, they will say the exact same thing. And so you have to go out yourself and find the proper news yourself, or else you're just going to be hearing the exact same thing. That's how we got into the Haitian migrants eating pets, and apparently JD Vance making that up, and apparently he didn't make it up, and because we don't know the truth because they keep lying and they keep saying the same thing over and over again. But I digress. Again, let me talk about JD Vance and his rally that he had today. So I got to go. There were a ton of women there, which women are very strong for Trump. And my best friend said it's because we have more cerebral, we're smarter. And so we know like who to vote for, and we know who the one is that we should be voting for. But basically what he talked about today was buying energy from American workers, that Kamala has made the middle class life harder by raising energy prices, saying the cost of living has gone up 22%, which costs $12,000 more per year, and that inflation costs Americans $30,000 more per year. She talks a lot about what she says she's going to do, but she doesn't talk about anything that she's done. So he said, stop talking about what you will do and start talking about what you have done, which is nothing. He said a different phrase, but I'm going to say which is nothing. And he pointed out that if you want to be president, you shouldn't be afraid of friendly media. So actually something that I thought was really cool was at the end of his speech, he took questions from the media, which I've never seen that done before. So he took questions from local reporters first, and then he took questions from like Politico, Axios, all of that, Wall Street Journal. And I thought that was really cool that he got to answer those questions and that he even asked questions of the press, because I know Donald Trump doesn't like the media, and none of us really on the right love the media, but he really isolates the media, I feel like, and doesn't want them noticed at all, and has a lot of people thinking that they lie, which they do, but he kind of amps up the crowd in terms of their hatred for the mainstream media. But I thought it was really cool that he actually took the time to take questions from the press. So he also said, how is she able to sit with world leaders if she can't even give an interview, which I totally agree. She dodges the camera like nobody's business. Like if dodgeball were the game, she would be the winner. Like she would be the last one standing, because she dodges interviews and reporters like nobody I've ever seen. And so does Walls. When asked critical questions, he runs away. Like the Israeli hostages that were shot, he ran away. And whenever she's being faced with questions, she has her headphones in, or she just doesn't do sit down interviews, because she knows that once she starts talking, and if they ask a question that she doesn't know the answer to, she's going to be derailed. And so if a world leader asks her a question that she doesn't know the answer to, what is she going to do? And that's actually a serious question. That's actually pretty scary, because she has to be able to think on her toes and think quickly and have more than just a set list of answers in a script, because life doesn't work that way. But he also said that housing costs are up so high because Kamala made it harder to build homes and made interest rates go up by 6%, which is true. My interest rate is 3%, and I think the interest rate percentage is 9% now. But he also mentioned, which I don't necessarily agree or know if this is true, but that allowing 25 million illegal immigrants to be put into this country has made the cost of housing go up. I don't necessarily know if that's true, because I don't even know if you can buy a house if you're an illegal immigrant or not. I'll have to look that up. But I don't necessarily agree with that, but his point was that Trump will reinstate deportation and building the wall, and the birthright of every American citizen is to grow up in safe neighborhoods, which I totally agree. I think he was hinting at Springfield. Like I said, I don't know if he made that up or not. I don't know if it's true, but I did see news reports saying that people were eating cats, and there were people all over social media saying that people were eating their pets. And then it came out on liberal media that JD Vance made it up, but I don't understand why someone would make that up. But we do deserve to live in safe neighborhoods. I mean, he was saying that in Springfield, there's people, the rates for cars, your car insurance payments have gone up because it's not safe to be in the streets because there's illegal immigrants. And if illegal immigrants are here and they don't obey the law to get here, why would they obey the traffic laws? And I totally agree with that. He also mentioned that we have a lot of natural gas capacity, so we need to open up the pipelines because Russia and China are countries that would love to have what we have and they don't have it. And lastly, his last point was because one of the reporters asked him what the difference was between him and Trump and Kamala and Walz, and basically what makes him different from Kamala. And basically he said that he changes his mind, but he actually stands in front of the American people and tells them why. Whereas Kamala Harris changes her mind, but doesn't tell people why she's changed her mind. And also, I think that, I mean, he also said that we're able to debate each other and also like respect each other, which is something that we're able to do as well. And I believe that I know that JD Vance was a never Trumper, but he did come out and say reasons why he's not a never Trumper anymore. I mean, Trump picked him for a reason. He's not my favorite pick. I'll just be honest right now. I just like to go see people that are speaking. And so since he was here, I decided to go. He's not my favorite person. I'm not goo goo gaga for him. He's not my main person. My main person is Trump. I love Trump. I'm down with him. So whoever he picks, I guess we have to just sit back and see what they're going to do as vice president. But he's not my favorite person, but I thought that he made some really good points today. So how do we wrap this all up into the gospel? Well, like I said, whoever blesses Israel is blessed. So we are not to hate Israel. We are to stand for Israel, and we are not to bash them in any way. We're not to stand for Palestine. We are not to stand for Hamas. We're not to do any of that the left is doing. And I think Kamala needs to address that to her audience, because her audience is the one that's putting up Palestinian flags and desecrating the Liberty Bell and writing Hamas, free Hamas or whatever on the Liberty Bell and things like that. So she needs to address her audience, because if she wants Israel to be able to defend itself, I don't think that's necessarily in the interest of her people. That's, again, one of her talking points to make her sound like a Republican. Also, women are not just reduced to what they can produce. Women, you're supposed to be a Proverbs 31 woman. God made us to be mothers. He made us to be wives. He just made us. And the fact that he made us is perfectly fine. We're not defined by or labeled by or minimized to one certain thing that we can do. Women, yes, we're made to be subservient to men and supposed to be the helpmate and things like that, but that's in God's will for us. It's not something bad about us. And if we're not a wife or a mother, there's nothing wrong with that either. But there's nothing wrong with motherhood. And the left makes it seem like something is so wrong with motherhood, but God created us to be fruitful and multiply. And so I wish that they would stop trying to push the whole my body, my choice, and stop reducing women to the fact that they can create a baby and then can kill it. I wish they would stop doing that. So that's all that I have to say for today. I would love it if you guys would give me a rating. You would subscribe to my podcast. You would share it with your friends. If you would follow me on Twitter at Faith and Fed, subscribe to my YouTube channel at Faith and Federalism. Follow me on Instagram at Faith and Federalism. And just remember, when it comes to politics, faith comes first. See you in the next episode.